Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, it's about 1:16. I've got about 44 minutes to go before I clock back in for my lunch. But if you watch this morning live, like you're watching now, I talked about in my topics on my mind discussion, my live topics on my mind video live stream. I talked about Incredibles, a lot of stuff, including mostly what we learned from Disney 23, D23 Expo, and some of the movies they announced, but mostly the one a lot of people have been looking forward to, and that's The Incredibles 2. And the more we learned about Incredibles 2, the more I, along with a lot of other people, kind of jumped on the discussion the speculations discussion bandwagon. Now, we basically have, from this time frame, about just a little over 11 months. 11 months would basically be this Friday. So if the release date is correct, the release date I think is around June 21st next year, so it should be about almost a little over 11 months. I'd say 11 months and 4 days into Incredibles 2. So that's great, and that is great news, especially for a lot of people that are fans of The Incredibles, and believe me, there are a lot. Some of the news that we got out of it is the Incredibles home they're going to have a big change as far as like living conditions. There was word, I think, going around that they're changing up the house a little bit to be a hybrid of its part house, but like underneath it's like a superhero layer, kind of like the Batcave maybe, or homage to the Batcave or something. It's basically going to be like that. It's basically going to be like that. And from what I understand, the other thing about this this new renovation to the home in which they're also making it a superhero layer, a headquarters, is they also got to change things up and make them safe for Jack. Because Jack, as we saw towards the end of the first movie, has powers of his own, but he has a multitude of powers. And part of the story is obviously trying to figure out what his powers are about. You know, what are we going to be dealing with? And one of the funny moments for Incredibles 2, from what they understand, is The Incredibles basically trying to super child-proof their home because of Jack. Jack, of course, is going to be growing up, so I don't know if we're going to see some kind of montage of him growing up, but just a little bit from his from the age we last saw him in. But basically, one of the comedic moments in the film is the family child-proofing the house for Jack, and that ought to be funny because some of the objects that they gotta avoid him getting hurt with, especially when the home goes from a home to a superhero headquarters or a lair, is some of the areas are pretty much very sharp. They're very pointy, so it's going to be interesting. And if not it's going to be interesting, if not very comedic, to see how they do this, how they fit this into the plot. Now, so basically that's one of the things we've learned about the movie. One of the subplots of the film is, it's going to focus on the family kind of you know, like I say, figuring out Jack's powers, super child-proofing the house, because, you know, for Jack, and making sure he doesn't hurt himself or anything like that. Another thing as well, as far as the movie is concerned, plot-wise, some of the minor plots, like when it comes to Jack's powers, we find out that Craig T. Nelson's character, Mr. Incredible, yes, Craig Nelson is coming back to voice him. Craig T. Nelson is almost excited for his child having these powers, and I think it's kind of, I think what they're kind of hinting at is even though he's excited, and I think maybe even Dash is excited, and perhaps even Violet, the mom, Mrs. Incredible, Elastigirl, is not so much enthusiastic about this. I mean, yeah, she's happy the baby's got powers probably, but not so enthusiastic of, you know, what is going to be his permanent source of power. You know, what is he going to depend on the most? And so that too kind of plays into the comedic part of, you know, the dad is so proud of his son being like this, even though his son's still a baby. So yeah, that's part of the plot. That's another part of the plot. We also find out that, as I said in the Topics on My Mind video this morning, we find out that the movie takes place almost immediately after the first one ends. So we don't know if it's going to start off with them battling the mole men or whatever, like they were getting ready to at the end of the first film. If they're going to start us off with that, we don't know. But another interesting point when it comes to this film, is who they're going to focus on. Now you might say, well, they got to focus on the kids because the kids are going to be growing up, so they need to focus on them. And that's true, they do. But what I understand and what I've heard, but what I and everybody else understands and what we've all heard, is that's not going to be the case. No, instead the character that's going to get focused on is Mrs. Incredible. Yeah, Elastigirl, Mrs. Incredible, is going to get focused on. And a lot of people obviously, from what I understand, a lot of people are happy about this. Now, some may say, and I mentioned this briefly this morning, some may say, well, it's only being done because they want to show the empowerment of women. They want to empower women as being just as equal as the men, especially when it comes to being superheroes. And that might be part of the reason. But I think the other reason is because when you have an actress like Helen Hunt, who's also coming back to provide the voice of Elastigirl, Mrs. Incredible, when you have someone like her as the voice actress for a character, providing the voice for this character, from what you saw her do in the first movie, you can only imagine, with the focus being on Mrs. Incredible, you know, what she'll bring to the table when it comes to the second film. So that's going to be really interesting. Hold on for a second. I had to let a semi-truck go by. But anyway, when you have an actress like Helen Hunt doing the voice, you can't really go wrong with someone like her. You really can't. And like I said, she did a terrific job when it came to the first movie, so you can only imagine, with the focus primarily being on Mrs. Incredible in the second film, what she'll bring to the table as well. You know what she'll bring to the table as well. Basically, how much more will she give, knowing that she's basically going to be her character is going to be carrying this film throughout, from what I understand. Now, one thing I said that I believe probably is going to happen in this film, and it needs to happen, like I said, it needs to happen, is, hold on for a sec. I don't want to stop. Like I said, the one thing that needs to happen in this film, and hopefully will happen in this film, is we're going to get hopefully we'll get a flashback, an origin flashback. In other words, hopefully we'll get some kind of origin story of how Mrs. Incredible got her powers in the first place. Hopefully we'll get a story on that, some kind of origin story in a flashback. We'll get some kind of origin story of how she got her powers, because it'll be really interesting exactly how we as an audience get to find out, along with the family, how she got her powers, because it's never really touched upon. I think it's touched upon a little bit, but not much, if at all, in the first film. So finding out how this happens here, how it happens here in how she gets her powers here in the second film, I think it's going to be worth it in the end. I think it'll be really worth it, and I think it's going to be something that I think a lot of fans are going to be happy about seeing. Seeing, because they'll be able to see, how at least one of the favorite characters in the Incredibles franchise, and mostly the Incredibles family, in this franchise, how they got their powers. And doing this with Mrs. Incredible, Elastigirl, that'll be, I think that'll be worth it in the end for a lot of people that go and see this movie, because it has to be done. If you're going to if you're going to focus on this character, you at least got to tell us how she got her powers, how she became a superhero. So you got to give us that origin story in some shape or form, and I think a flashback is what's going to happen, and what's going to occur in this film. I really do. One of the things I read in an article when they talked about this, was there was going to be some upgrades as far as the powers are concerned. Now, this could probably go not just for Mrs. Incredible, but it can also apply to Violet, Dash, Mr. Incredible, and maybe even Jack, Frozone, which is Samuel L. Jackson's character. It can apply to a lot of the superheroes, and maybe even the supervillain, whoever that is in this film. So basically, there's going to be an upgrade in powers. So how would that play in depending on the upgrades? Well, I look at someone like Violet, and her main thing is she's like Invisible Woman of Fantastic Four. She goes invisible, she can create invisible shields, she can do all that. I think the next logical step for Violet is she's got to learn how to go invisible 100%. We know she goes invisible, and all you see is her clothes left and all that, or her clothes are standing, and it's her. And if you're walking by, that's kind of unusual to see empty clothes just walking by, right? So I look at the fact that what needs to happen is, if you're going to upgrade, if you're going to have the powers evolve for all the characters in the second film, if that's going to be a priority, then what you need to do basically is start showcasing the evolution of these powers. You need to get these powers to become evolved. You need to evolve these powers as much as you could. If you're going to upgrade them, have them grow, evolve, and all that, you need to make it happen. And I think honestly, hold on. One thing about live, you can't really pause. Got 29 minutes. But anyway, like I said, if you're going to have these powers evolve, have the characters' powers evolve and all that, especially the kids, you need to do that. Violet's power needs to evolve to the point that when she does go invisible, unlike in the first film, she doesn't go, completely invisible without, and all you see is like her clothes left over. Now, I'm not sure if at the end of the first film her powers completely kind of came into being, and she can go invisible even with her clothes, even while she's wearing her clothes. I don't know. Because I noticed in the first film that when she would go invisible without her super suit, you would see her clothes just hanging there. They wouldn't be in a pile or anything. You would just see some clothes hanging there and maybe running off on their own. Like, and if you're looking at it, you're like, what the heck? Did I just see a ghost kind of thing? That would be your reaction. So, to me, I think if they're going to upgrade and evolve these powers, help make them grow, if you will, make them grow and develop, especially with the kids, then you need to do that. You need to do that in a way that says, as the kids get older and they grow, so do their powers. And I think with Violet, what I'm trying to get at is you need to have her powers develop and grow to the point that when she goes invisible, she goes completely invisible. This includes her regular casual, everyday clothes. And so instead of just them hanging around, instead of them just hanging in midair, they just disappear along with her. And that would make for an interesting, and to me that would make things very interesting, if not mischievous, easy for me to say. That would make things a little interesting, if not mischievous, for Violet, because now she would realize, hey, I'm invisible, so is my clothes. I can sneak up on anybody. I can do anything I want. Nobody would really know. So that could be a story you could tell in itself, and that could be part of the movie. That could be like a little sub-arc that plays into the focus of the Mrs. Incredible's arc in the movie. So I think that could work. Dash, we know, can run fast and everything. I think, and he's obviously based off the Flash. So if you're going to have Dash's powers evolve as he grows, then he needs to be able to do something that the Flash does. And if you're going to take inspiration from DC's The Flash, then you need to make one of the evolutionary powers that one of the growing parts of Dash's powers, you need to allow him to be able to run around the world in just a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds and be back. Like he could, Dash could start like where this rock is, go around the world in a few moments and come back right where that rock is. That is what they need to do. They need to let him develop that power to where he can go around the world and be back in a flash, if you catch my drift. So I think that's what they need to do as far as his powers go. Jack, that's kind of up in the air. He's still a baby, but I think they need to focus on what his main power is going to be. Mr. Incredible, I think with him, you need to, probably as he gets older, he just needs to start weakening a little bit to where that his time as a superhero is, close to ending, and he needs to hang him up, or he needs to hang the mask up and kind of pass on the legacy to his kids, to the younger generation. So you need to have him kind of start to get a little weak. Like, he can still be strong. He can throw, like houses and cars and stuff like that, buildings. But the more he does, the more he, exuberates his strength, the more weaker he becomes. So basically, I think this development with him the growth with him is he's got to realize to slow it down and be like, okay, I can't, things aren't what they used to be when I was younger, or when I started getting back into this. So to me, that has to be a subplot as well. And as far as Elastigirl goes, you know, like I said, you know, like the story goes, the movie's going to primarily be focused on her. So I think what they need to do with Elastigirl is, as far as her powers go, we saw in the first film that she could stretch her limbs. Doesn't matter if it's her legs or arms or hands or whatever, she can stretch them as long as she has to. We also know that she can change her body into just about anything that is needed at the time. Like, if, you know, for example, falling from the sky, she can turn her body into almost a parachute. You know, she can almost turn her body into a parasail or parachute. We also saw that she's able to turn her body into a boat if need to, like a raft boat, like a boat or a raft, if you will. You know, we've seen that she can flatten herself against walls and everything to avoid, you know, contact. So we've seen all that, but I think what we need to see next, and I think hopefully Brad Bird has thought about this as far as, you know, what else could we do with her powers, because I think one of the things that you need to do with Elastigirl, Mrs. Incredible, is you need to give her the power to, unless this becomes a weakness, they need to give her the power to kind of go semi-liquid. If you haven't read stories before or about characters with elastic powers or rubber-like powers, whether they're men or women, one of the powers that they develop later on sometimes, one of the newer additions to the powers that they develop later on sometimes, is they can actually semi-liquefy their bodies into a puddle-like form, a substance that can squeeze under doors with no problem, or blend in with whatever liquid or Arctic or oceanic materials around, so they don't get detected. And I think for Elastigirl, for Mrs. Incredible, they need to do that. And they need to at least give her the opportunity to, you know, to showcase this power at least a couple times, once or twice in the movie, to where she has to semi-liquefy herself into a liquid substance or liquid substance like puddle that goes under the cracks of doors, or maybe even goes through the doors. Like, she could become a liquid substance like puddle or liquid, semi-liquid substance that can allow herself to squeeze through all the cracks. Like, let's say she's against the door, and the only way she can really get through it is to liquefy herself to where she just kind of splits apart a little bit, just semi-splits apart temporarily, goes through one side and another side on the bottom of the door, or in the top of the door, and then she comes out together as herself again. But she's not like completely in pieces, you know. She's able to keep her kind of semi-elasticness, because all she's doing is just pulling herself, is kind of temporarily separating herself so she can get through, like, let's say, a door. In other words, she can liquefy herself or semi-liquefy herself against the door and then kind of squeeze through it a little bit. Like, one side could go this way on one side of the door, the other side can go this way on the other side of the door, the top could go this way, the bottom on the, you kind of get the idea. And then, like I said, you know, you could have her go into that semi-liquid substance puddle-like state to where she can go under the door, if not, you know, merge herself or kind of camouflage herself along with any other liquid substance that's around her, like, let's say, water, you know, you name it, you know, water, goo, if it's there, you name it. And I think that would work. I think also we need to develop more on her shape-shifting powers. I think that's what they also need to look into. But I think the way you do it with both powers, the semi-liquid and the shape-shifting, is you started out with a little bit of her kind of playing games with her kids, maybe playing games with Jack, and you have her kind of shapeshift herself into, let's say she's playing a hide and seek game, or with her kids, and she's hiding. What you could do is you can have her disguise herself as like a covering on a couch, and the way you do it is you have her face, you just have it completely become a sheet, like no facial features or anything, stuff like that. Or if you really want to have fun with her, have her go into that semi-liquid state and have her blend in with, like, let's say the carpet or the floor at their house while she's playing, along with her kids, maybe being mischievous with her husband, stuff like that. And then and that to me would be a good introduction to the fact that her powers in a sense have grown as well, because now she's shape-shifting to the point that you wouldn't be able to tell where she's at. Now she's able to semi-liquefy herself off and stuff too, where she can blend in with things on the floor or even the walls. You could do that, and I think again it could really, I think it will really help the character out in the end, especially in this film, especially with this, will help put, really help put the focus on Elastigirl like the movie's intending to do, like Brad Bird is intending to do. It will really help put that focus more so on her, because what a way to reintroduce us to the family, especially with her being the focus. What a way to reintroduce us to her. And I think it could work. I do, and hopefully Brad Bird has thought about that. And we're going to get something like it down the line, hopefully in the movie. And then, like I said, you can have her also use these powers later on when they're in danger, to where she'll have to like sneak under a door in a semi-liquid state, or she can camouflage herself to a wall to kind of spy on something, or shapeshift herself into an identical object that's around whatever evil layer that they're in, or whatever the evil headquarters of the antagonist that they're facing is at. Have her blend in by shapeshifting into whatever identical objects you can shape into, or blend in, like I said, camouflage yourself to the wall, stuff like that. So to me, I think again, this is just my opinion, but these are things that hopefully Brad Bird has thought of, and hopefully we're going to get in the movie down the line. So hopefully that'll be something worth looking out for when it's all said and done. Overall, I'm really excited about this. Let me check my time here. I got about 15 minutes or 16 minutes. But again, like I said, I'm really excited about this. I went, like I said in Topics on My Mind this morning, I went and saw the first movie in theaters. I've DVD fabbed the first movie onto DVD after renting it. I have the official Blu-ray of the film. So, again, I'm just happy to know that we're going to be getting this sequel. And again, I can only imagine what they're going to do as far as how the story is going to be how Elastigirl is going to play a lot of a focus. I mean, like I said, I just gave my opinion of what I think could really help make her the focus in this film. And again, I hope Brad Bird has thought about this, because I think giving her a flashback origin of how she got her powers, having her gain some new abilities ever since the first film, like the ones I've mentioned, could really help out in the long run too. So again, I'm just happy about this. I know a lot of people are happy about this. This is what I believe. This is what I believe. They showed some animatronics at D3, kind of like a work in progress, kind of like trailer. So I can only imagine what the teaser trailer or the first trailer is going to be like when people go and see Coco this November. Because yes, they will be showing, there's no doubt they're going to be showing the trailer of The Incredibles 2 right before they show Coco. You know that as well as I do. Hold on for a second. Like I said, you know that as well as I do. That they're going to be showing the Incredibles 2 trailer before the Coco movie this December. So hopefully what we see in that trailer will kind of be what I'm hoping we'll see, kind of get an idea of what we'll see, stuff like that. Sorry about that. Well, like I said, hopefully that'll give us an idea of what we're going to get. Something in my eye there. But hopefully, you know, the trailer when it comes out will kind of give us an idea of what we're going to get. Hopefully some of the things I've suggested or come up with or have an idea that could happen and hope to happen is what will be showcased somewhat in the trailer, in the first trailer, when it gets shown in November before Coco. So overall, I'm excited about it. I know a lot of people watching this live or even post live are excited about it. So that's really all I'm gonna say, folks. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. I gotta go get me some lunch real quickly. But I'm excited about the sequel. I'm happy it's coming out next year instead of 2 years from now or 3. So can't wait to see what they got in store. And like I said, maybe the trailer, if there's a trailer before Coco this November, hopefully that'll give us somewhat of an idea of what to expect, and maybe even show us some of the things that we hope to see, and I hope that I suggested, that I hope, and some of you may or may not agree, we hope to see as well. So that's all I'm going to say, folks. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. I got to get me some lunch, and I'm out.